Question about minutes. Is that posted somewhere? I didn't even checked.
Yeah.
Minutes.
I haven't even, normally where it would be on the website under.
Okay, on the Grand County website.
Yeah, it's like, I always get those. It's do like, it's agenda and it's just agenda.
Okay,
Right?
okay.
And just like it is, I usually never post it.
Okay.
You get that time and then once you click on it, then you get yeah, this was just like Zoom info, then agenda. And then there's like extra.
Right, okay, thanks.
I don't see you just let me know when, because I didn't know if I was
Yeah,
supposed to give it a go.
Right now. So
I'm just, we call it the Grand County.
Yeah.
Grand County Utah Portal. Oh. I like you on it.
Hey, Chris.
No, no, I was seeing the agenda, I got that. Look like you were on that.
That's fine.
Yeah, I feel, okay, maybe I started. So,
I was getting
and then, so you
time
just
access.
use this little arrow back right here, and it'll take you to
Grand County,
the
the
list.
agenda.
This is from our last.
Oh, I'm on it.
I just got it.
At the end too.
Yeah, so this is all of it, but there's no meeting files. So this is just our agenda, if you go to meeting files, you'll see. That's all, but, yeah, so there's nothing,
Okay,
there's no
great.
files, it's just our agenda. There's
Ready
probably
to
no minutes
start it?
available yet.
All right,
Sometimes that takes a little while.
I'm gonna call to order this Economic Opportunity Advisory Board meeting. It is February 25th at 3:04 p.m. Let's start with introductions as to who's here. I'll start it. I'm Brittany Melton. I'm a voting woman.
Ashley Cornwell, voting member. Grand County Commission, Melody McCandless. Pamela Gibson, voting member.
Chris Wilson, voting member.
Aaron Lindbergh, voting member.
Lisa Jeffers, Economic Development Staff.
Mark Tanner, county administrator.
Anybody online? Yeah.
Deborah McKee, non-voting member, Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity.
Todd Thompson, Small Business Development Center, non-voting.
Wonderful. And would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh, hi, I'm Angie Book, the director of OSA.
And
Hi, I'm Amanda.
Amanda, and
I'm with the Board of Chamber of Commerce.
any conflicts of interest, disclosures, ex parte community? I will say mine. I am part of the chamber board. I just want everybody to have full disclosure there. Any citizens to be heard today? You want me to share that one? If you'd like to.
Oh, I see it's on the list of items, so.
Okay. All right, we're gonna be talking about. All right, presentations, commission. Camera.
I don't really have anything anything prepared today. It's been super crazy lately, with meetings nonstop. We had the chamber board last week, what is that called? The board retreat last week, and that was really interesting. They have some stuff coming out of that today. On our last agenda, just seeing if we have anything that necessarily affects economic development. I feel like everything does. Well, we'll just go with that. So I'm on the airport subcommittee board. And so we're looking at areas out of the airport. I went to the 3 different airline presentations in the last 2 weeks. So I've been out at the airport a bunch, and we've seen Denver Air Connect, SkyWest, and our current contour they presented. So I was able to be able to look at the planes and ask questions, and we'll be getting those RFPs by, I think, March 5th. Those RFPs will all come from the federal government, and they'll go to our airport board, which is the 15th of March, and then they'll come before the commission. So I learned a lot about airlines in the last 2 weeks, and also going out to the or to look to do a really good tour of the whole facility. And we put in new tarmac out there so that we could have more hangars. But we're just gonna go look out there and just get the overall lay of the land, walk around. You know, we've either flown in on a plane or been in the terminal, but not really been out there. So got that going on. And then the fixed guideway tax subcommittee, that's what we call it, but it's for public safety buildings. So that's not necessarily economic development, but it could be in the fact that it gives jobs and stuff as we expand our jail, brings more money revenue into the county if we put state inmates in the jail. So we're just doing a lot of research on that. Tomorrow I go to Iron County. Iron County just built a new public safety building. And so we're gonna go and tour that tomorrow. And that's about all. Lots of things going on.
I have a question about the airport. There was a form that they were asking for comments on. And so I couldn't come to the event, but I put a comment about the way that you book the flights and how they integrate with other major airlines is a big deal.
Yeah. Chair, I think it's your own concern.
Well, maybe, but just their whole process, because last year they were allowing bookings through the end of March, and then suddenly you couldn't book in April because they were working on their schedule of when they were gonna move the Denver flights or whatever. And so they kind of said, we can't announce our April schedule, but we had customers that were trying to book April. So just like, hopefully those comments are gonna get to you guys, but I mentioned this in that comment form that we need a booking window that goes, 6 months ahead of every part of our season. And it needs to integrate with major airlines. Like I've been standing in the airport talking to United and I thought I was on a connecting flight that I booked through Contour, and they're like, we don't see you on this United flight.
Yeah, I think that Melissa's been compiling all of those, and so she's gonna put them in. I mean, I've seen it, but it's not done because we continue to get.
Yeah.
So like this many people say SkyWest is, the most important thing, and then this many people don't really care, or this many, and then some of the comments. So she's really making a nice dashboard on all of those comments. And then we, use the RCG funds and have a contractor that's out there. And so I've met with him a couple times. And he is going to take all the RFPs and sort them all out and be like pros and cons and really feed it to us in a way that we can all understand it. And so that, like I said, it will go to the airport board first, and then it will come to the commission after that.
It's just that it feels like that got left out the last time, like making sure that you could book the flights. We didn't have to think about it. So
I'm just learning that I think that Contour was the only airline that, like, they were the next in line. So SkyWest was there, and then SkyWest pulled out.
Yeah.
And Contour was the next one in line, and so that's why they got chosen with a lot of growing pains. I know that Denver Air Connect was one of them that I talked to, and they're like, we wanted MOAB last time, but we didn't put in because we knew we couldn't perform. We knew we couldn't. So they're like, Contour did, but we knew we couldn't do. And so you have those growing pains that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I think that everyone's aware of a lot of those, but and the hard part is you can sit there and listen to them talk all day long and say all kinds of fabulous things. It really comes down to what's in the contract. What's in the contract, we can hold it to, and I think that's why having this contractor doing that is valuable. So
totally.
We make sure we have all the things in the contract that we have to have so that we are able to get out of it if we need to, or hold them accountable.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Great job. Thanks for.
And just so you're aware, that individual feedback is absolutely in part of that analysis. He is getting that detailed feedback, and then he's also getting it as part of groupings, which is why we kind of wanted to have it open-ended, is so that you're not eliciting a response. You just want to know what people say that they need straight out of the gate. So it's all in there.
Great.
Melissa, do you want to keep trucking on your report?
Yeah. So RCG, RCOG, Mackle, there are so many soupy names that start with M, alphabet soup. Mackle is moving forward with their project, and we're on track. They have until the end of April to complete that contract. We don't have any red flags. It looks like it's good. We've received 100% of all of the contracts signed back from each one of the RCG subgrantees. Of those, I think 3 now have received full reimbursements or full payments. 2 maybe partial, and then 1 or 2 still left to go. So the process is a little bit cumbersome, but people are making it through. Thanks, Cora. You have
Signed, sealed, delivered. Yeah.
examples, signed, sealed, delivered, but we're making progress. And then the rest of them still have until June, which I feel really good about. So.
Okay, so I wanted to touch base a little bit about our new member. You guys probably remember that Randy Martin was here for the Chamber of Commerce. We had a new person on our board, and Amanda was so nice to say, hey, I'll do this board. And we're kind of excited to see the chamber partner up a little bit with the county and in their endeavors on trying to move initiatives. So Amanda, do you want to just take a second and introduce yourself kind of thoroughly?
Sure, I can tell you a little bit more. So I'm Amanda. Hi. I actually am very new to Moab as of just September last year, so not even a year yet. But came here through way of my friend has been, her parents own 2 stores on Main Street since like the late 90s. So if you guys remember images of Moab, she took those over from her parents in Moab. And then she opened a second location that got sold. So I'm kind of here to run the day-to-day operations because she's up in Park City. Originally from Wisconsin, love to travel. So that's kind of why I'm here, because I just love to get outdoors. So I've kind of just been learning Moab, learning the area. So yeah.
Deborah just asked him, I'm not sure, but I think that we talked about this and we don't. The chamber's voting member, we don't need to vote on them, right? The chamber just sends them and, okay, perfect. Okay.
Sorry, I was like.
No, no,
Like what?
let me double check. I think I know the answer, but let's make sure.
Well, and I looked at it on the bylaws that day. when she was
Oh,
talking
okay,
about
got
it.
it. Perfect.
Also, yeah.
We didn't have the the minutes from the prior meeting in our agenda packet. So I think we're gonna probably try to push that to a next meeting.
I added those, but for some reason that and also the chamber letter are not showing up. So yeah, maybe if we do want to push it, or I can project it. What would you like to do?
We can definitely read the, I don't care, whatever you guys want to do, you tell me.
They go to the next meeting for the minutes, so
the
people have a
meeting.
chance to review them, it's
Perfect.
fine.
Perfect, let's do it. And then as far as the letter goes, I mean, we can just read it out loud here. Cora, do you want to read it?
I can.
Okay. Do you want this one?
I have a copy here too,
Oh,
if anybody else would like to just. People look all over.
This is the same one.
Is there more right there? Maybe-
Here, one.
Like, I've already read it now, but
One, so I've
everybody
already,
else hasn't read it,
Yeah.
wants to test it. So,
I'm writing on behalf of the Board of Directors of the Moab Chamber of Commerce to request that the Grand County Commission explore the development of convention and large event facilities. The Chamber Board believes this is both a significant economic opportunity and a critical gap in Grand County that should be addressed. Regular engagement with our members and the broader business community has provided consistent feedback from hotels, event organizers, convention hosts, and prospective visitors seeking conference and convention facilities in the Moab area. There is high demand, but Grand County lacks a venue that can accommodate large-scale events with essential amenities, including high-capacity meeting space, breakout rooms, integrated indoor and outdoor areas, and modern event hosting expectations. While we currently have space that meets some needs, it's insufficient to attract conventions and regional events to drive drive economic impact. Other rural Utah communities have shown that investing in convention capacity results in strong returns for the economy and residents. The Knapp Center, for example, demonstrates that a well-designed facility can attract events that fill hotels, generate sales tax revenue, and extend visitor stays, which are all outcomes that would benefit Grand County. The Old Spanish Trail Arena is a valuable county-owned asset that generates some rental revenue, but primarily serves to attract outside events, resulting in TRT revenue from hotel bookings and sales tax revenue that funds services and amenities for residents. Adding a convention center would strengthen this model and elevate OSTA Old Spanish Trail Arena further as an attractive regional destination. The Chamber Board recognizes that this is a significant undertaking that requires time and a phased approach. We're asking the Commission to take the first step by formally exploring what a convention facility at Old Spanish Trail Arena could entail, the cost and the funding options. The Chamber is ready to support this effort by facilitating input from the business community, sharing collected demand data, and collaborating on feasibility analysis. Grand County has long benefited from tourism, and Old Spanish Trail Arena demonstrates how tourism dollars enhance residents' quality of life by providing services and amenities that would otherwise not be available in a county of our size. A convention center would help diversify our visitors' economy, extend shoulder seasons, and create new opportunities for local businesses. We respectfully urge the Commission to prioritize this exploration and welcome the opportunity to discuss how the Chamber can partner with the county to advance this initiative.
Thank you. I do not. So I just thought I'd bring this to a discussion item for us. So we also have an amazing guest over here that is running a big quite the projects out there. And so I want to just kind of give everybody an opportunity to discuss about what they feel about that letter. Obviously, it was to the Commission, but it was nice that they carbon copied us on that. So let's open it up.
I mean, is your hope that this board would like do something similar? Like,
I think that it's a good discussion on if we could maybe see that. Does anybody see it as a benefit to the county like the Chamber of Commerce does?
yeah, for sure. Okay, absolutely. I think that having it would be, I mean, it's, you know, when it comes down to spending county dollars, the challenge is always what's the alternative, you know, but in terms of like, would it benefit the county? Absolutely.
So would this be like, are you guys eyeing the RCOG fund as a competitive grant? And how does this relate to our EMS thing then, if it is?
Yeah, so that's still good discussion. I look at it, remember when we were in that subcommittee on, can't remember what it was called, but there was a subcommittee that us three were a part of. And actually, I think Ashley was part of that too. We talked a lot about different revenue streams and what we could do to maybe help our, I guess, from going from a sub-grant to the sub-grant program to maybe more of impactful. And then we talked a little bit about what does the county need? Like we looked at different departments and maybe had the different departments heads come in and talk to us about maybe what they thought. I mean, when Melody was talking a little bit about the airport, it was like, oh, I wonder if the airport would like to come and talk to us a little bit about what they think is development. Angie, I would love to hear your thoughts on what you think is development for our county. So that more just discussion around everything. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, possibly.
Yeah, because I'm just seeing it's like, you know, I think something like this would fit more of that RCOG as a competitive grant, but I also wonder how it where are we at with the EMS thing? Are we waiting for the next cycle to apply with that? And then here's my other thing. It's like, I don't know how this came about. Like, I guess the chamber sponsored it, but like we were also talking about going to each kind of institution in the county government or in the county to be like, okay, let's ask HASU what they have. And like, let's go through the list and have it as an idea, like a charcuterie board of choices that we would see. So that would be my only thing is it's like, man, maybe this is the best idea, but have we even approached other entities to be like, hey, what you guys have an idea for this? You know, it's like, we're talking about $600,000 for an RCOG fund that could be competitive. We want to choose the best, most competitive thing, right? So that would be just my comments on it.
I can comment a little bit on EMS. So I did ask the exact same question today with Melissa, but I'm also on the EMS Special Service District Board. And, they've been moving along with something similar to this anyway. So the idea was great. They moved along. McKay is who Melissa's been working with for a long time, and he's been the coordinator for education up there, and he just resigned. And so I know that we are reaching back out to Andy to see if this is something that they want to continue with, having a new coordinator for education. But I know that they do have programs going on, a really good partnership with Utah State University, not to the level that we were looking at helping with the RCOG, but they may not even want to, but we are. So this is just a discussion phase. It's not to take over EMS, and we'll continue until we reach out to them to find out if it's something that they want to continue to pursue as well. So it's great to have choices. We have multiple choices.
Yeah, because I see, this board's kind of made up of kind of like different divisions, and like Department of Workforce Services, where are they? Like, there's no one representing workforce. There's no one representing USU at this meeting, right?
Todd's on here.
Oh, but he's not the actual interim director of
Okay.
USU. I mean,
Yeah, I'm here though, so.
Dude, I'm just saying, like, like we can have a board that's like weighted towards the, Chamber of Commerce. All I'm saying is like, let's acknowledge our bias in here, and that, that's it.
I don't think that there's any bias. I think that we need to invite people.
Yeah,
I agree with
that's
you
what
on
I'm
that.
saying.
I just think that this was a good opportunity.
No,
for discussion.
I'm not, I'm just being the counter, being like, oh, hey, before we like assign everything to something, I think we had talked in that subcommittee about being like, hey, maybe we want to reach out to like all these aspects of, it's weird that lagging in there. And I keep watching, I'm like, oh my God, it's like me 5 seconds behind. Anyways, I can't watch that.
Yeah, don't put your hands down.
Yes. Yeah, so I mean, that's my only like feedback on this.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah, Chris.
So I think I keep reading the TRT laws and trying to understand really well what can and can't be funded by TRT, but I'm pretty sure it says very explicitly in there that convention facilities is one of the appropriate uses of TRT funding. So I think that having us involved in the conversation, I'm open to us considering grants for it. But I also feel like this should be before the tourism board. This conversation should be happening at the tourism board. And that would be, in my mind, if it is possible to fund through TRT in the end, that would be an even better way to fund it for the county, so that we can then take some of these funds, which are like the few funds that exist within the county, that can go beyond that purview of what TRT can fund.
Well, I can tell you right now. that
I'm
there's
so
no-
glad you brought that up.
There's no money currently to put forth out of TRT funds for them. I mean, there's currently money that helps operate.
You've seen the budget, like.
No.
Is that what you mean?
It's the weirdest thing. So the restricted funds, right? The way that it works is you've got the TRCCA funds, you've got the TRT funds, and then within the TRT funds, you have those restrictions between promotion and mitigation, right? In terms of uses.
Yeah.
I've talked with this group, we've kind of talked anecdotally a lot about OSTA before. And I think that Angie is doing amazing work there, and there are a lot of really great economic development opportunities, but they require investment for us to be able to capitalize on any of them. And right now, the current TRCCA funds that are available to us that we can use that are in the budget barely cover the maintenance fees.
So, but this is
A little.
I mean, we could, maybe a lawyer needs to be here or something, but like, I mean, that's part of the promotion part of TRT.
Is not.
Not building. It would
The only person who can answer this question is the state auditor, who was asked many times in the past years to clarify things for Grant County and didn't. So I don't know if we can count on that, but I mean, that's the problem. Nobody knows the answer to this, it feels like. But either way, I think the question needs to be, that the letter's asking is, do we need this? Like, if we start with like, is it needed? And then we back in.
Sure, how to fund it. Yeah.
I think it has like you're always talking about, Ashley, it's multiplier effects. It has a lot of that. And I understand what Chris is saying about like, hey, is this money that could be taken, like, this is a tourism endeavor. And like, our economy is based on.
But it's not. It's just like the Grand Center. So the Grand Center was being used, TRT money was paying for the Grand Center, and we had to pay it all back. Because Grand Center is mostly used for local weddings and local events and local meetings. Yeah, sometimes it gets used for tourists, but the majority of it, so 70% of it's used for locals, 30%. OST is similar. I mean, if you want to do rodeos and stuff.
Convention center, local conventions are gonna be happening here. I mean, I see it as, we've talked about rodeos and Jeep events and stuff. I'm like, that sounds tourist to me.
Yeah, I think it's a fine line. I mean, I think there could be some funding. There's none available like right currently.
And I'm saying like, that's a great thing. Like, that is our main economy. But like, if there was other sources, but if you're saying other sources don't exist, okay, yeah, sure. Like that, we're the ones then, I guess, that have the money, that would potentially have the money for it. All right.
Well, there might be other sources, depending on how you define it, what it is that you're saying you're gonna do. I mean, Winton County used their mineral lease money for this, but they have a whole lot more.
We don't have this money.
We have a little, but not very much.
Yeah.
As far as the need goes, I can tell you, having helped organize the Chamber Conference for the last 2 years, we don't have a place where you can really gather more than about 100 people. And then when you try to do breakout sessions like we did it, Jolene really bent over backwards and did a great job with the Spring Hill Suites, but just have the time it took for the people to walk to the other hotel and walk back, and things got late, and we don't really have a facility that allows you to have anything. I mean, in the Grand Center, it's a giant room and you can have a bunch of people, but you can't do breakouts there. And nowhere can you do really breakouts. And that is kind of part, like if you were gonna host a orthopedic conference or a conference on public lands or anything, you need that ability to have the whole group in a big room and then have breakouts. And so I don't know, like what you guys have worked incredible magic out there, transforming that place from one thing to another in 7 minutes. Like, you do a great job.
And maybe you can speak to that, because like, I'm assuming, I know like the chamber has gotten many of phone calls that are like, hey, we want to bring this company there for all of our big conference and our whatever. Can you tell us where we're going to get this space? And they're like, oh, too bad. You know what I mean? And I assume that you're getting those similar conversations.
We do, and I feel like I become a MacGyver on events, special events.
You are.
But what we run into is, like you were just saying, is having a space for the main event for a convention, and then having the breakout rooms, but then also having a kitchen space for the catering, because you also have to feed those people. So that's what we run into. Currently, we try to make things work by bringing in tents. Tents are extremely expensive. And then we also know how Moab weather is. There's a danger to it, which makes every event holder lose hair. They're a nightmare. I hate dealing with tents. But I mean, that's kind of how we get through it right now. But people are also looking for that next level of event. They don't want to set up tables in dirt, and that's unfortunately all we have available to provide is dirt. And then I also have to look at it from a safety aspect, because that dirt that they're setting up in is the main focus for that is for animals. So I have to mitigate what's being put there at the same time. So then I have to be the police officer that's down there hovering over them with every piece of wood, every nail, every hammer that's coming onto that arena floor. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to change the floor, to move the equipment, and we can't move all of it. We can't move the roping boxes and the bucking chutes, which a lot of the event holders want that moved. And they want that next level of elegance, if that makes sense. They don't want that brick building. They don't want the dirt floor.
Or the super high ceiling and.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing.
And the heating and the arenas, it's almost 40 years old. It has no, well, it has heat, but it doesn't have heat. the air's not, I mean, it's swamp coolers, so to have central air and heat would be wonderful, to have tile floors would be wonderful. To have those things would be all benefits, and it would bring that customer in, that's what they're looking for.
What, have you all, has this idea been developed at all? I guess is my question. Is this like, or is this just getting started as a concept that needs to be like,
That
you
would be
know,
the first
you need some
request.
sort of like
is-
exploration,
It's
you know,
like almost like.
do a feasibility
Yeah.
study or something like that.
That's the
and-
first request, is to put in a feasibility study and to get those plans going. I did bring some pictures. We're currently doing a lot of work in the outdoor arena. If anybody has any time to drive by in the daylight, definitely drive by the daylight. It's pretty impressive what my crew is doing out there right now. But you know, there's room out there. There's opportunity. There's some property that is available to purchase. At least I still hope it's available to purchase. It's a pipe dream. I would love to be able to grow the facility and to add to that. It's great opportunities out there. The possibilities are endless. My mind's ready to explode with opportunity that's available out there, and even merge some of the county departments to save some funding. I have ideas there too. But the convention hall, and definitely like if we could design it and build it to where it could be multi-purpose, to get some of like the dance teams in there. I get requests for dance teams, I get requests for the wrestling teams. And then the sports teams during the winter, there's no place for them to practice. And when the spring season goes long, they need a place to practice, even whether it's a pitching, a sliding, you know, soccer wants to play 24/7. Volleyball, basketball, especially basketball, have those multi-use opportunities as it's being designed would be awesome. And then to be able to get some of the private events out of the arena, like quinceañeras, the weddings. It would save time for my staff, diesel for the tractors. Those are all benefits to being able to have the convention center.
So in your perfect world, what you would be looking at is if, back to Erin's point, if we, as far as dollars go, you would look at that first part saying, we want a feasibility study, and that's what we would love to see some of these RCG funds go towards.
Mhm.
So we can then use, to Ashley's point, a multiplier effect of, you know, seeing a project through. Is that?
Yeah, I guess it's like, yeah, like show us a feasibility study to
Yeah.
fund, you know, I guess
Yeah.
that's like what I would think the next step would be, right?
Maybe another next time, I would love to invite Stephen to our next meeting to help. It's just like are talking about multiple projects in a row. Like because the airport is another one where it's like, there's an obvious tourism connection, but. Yeah, I'd love to get as much clarity as we can about where the line is drawn, what TRT can fund and what it doesn't. Because I would love for us to stay on the other side of whatever that line is. Like, as best as we can define as a county, as much risk or not risk the county is willing to take, you know what I mean? Like, the county attorney is probably the best person to try to help us define what that line is. But it's like, it's just a question constantly to me. It's like, if we get a project that really feels like tourism promotion, you know.
Why can't we use those dollars?
Yeah, it just, exactly. I'd love to keep us on the side of, you know, this is a small pot of money that we have that we can help work with. And I'd love to have us be trying to expand the base of our economy as much as possible with it. And getting the most, I think, also out of like the dollars that do exist on TRT. I mean, I think you know, conceptually, this is like a perfect TRT project for me. Whether or not the lawyers say we can do that or not, that's a separate question, but it's a question I feel like we really need answered.
If we go back to what Melissa kind of talked with us about last meeting, and she gave us her not you, it was like the county's initiatives, right? Was there any part in there about this specific kind of item?
Yeah, OSTA is in there. So improvements to OSTA, what we had talked about before the chamber talked in the board retreat about a convention center, I was thinking smaller. and had been talking about new equipment to be able to attract events like the rodeo, the PRCCA, so the upgrades in the internet system and connectivity and the sound system and some of those more infrastructure pieces that would make it more competitive. But I was thinking a bit smaller when I put that plan together, but I love the idea of a convention center and I do think that it's a huge gap in opportunity, but yeah, it was in the plan.
Right. I think I just go back to, I mean, I grew up in a lot of the sports. We already talked a little bit about that before we got on the meeting, but so there's this facility over in Ridgefield, and it's called the Severe Valley Center. The city council, the county council, all of their people that would be in charge of a fund are very into what that center does, because for instance, in the summer, I take several volleyball teams to a tournament. Well, that weekend I think there's over 100 teams, plus probably their families because they're all young, and all these different people flood into that valley for just these few small things. But then I go, oh, well, wait a minute. They do it for wrestling, and they do it for basketball, and they do it for all these different things, dance competitions like Angie was talking about. So those are the a lot of those types of places. They don't have the hotels. We have hotels. So we do have kind of one side of the equation. But then when I was in the board retreat, they were talking, a lot of those people have very big ties to the hotels, and they're like, I would love to do that. I get a phone call all the time, and then I go, oh yeah, I don't have the meeting space for you. And so hence why, like, for instance, my company that I work for, we have trips that we earn. The trip that I earned is in a different country. However, there's an alternative trip, and guess where that alternative trip is? Park City, Utah. Well, how cool would it be if it was Moab, Utah on a giant company's list? But we couldn't do that here from a perspective of that company, because we need a facility that would hold hundreds of agents plus families.
And right now, just even the fire department, they've wanted to host, there's an annual, I don't know if I want to call it a training. There's something that the fire department does within their world every year, and they take turns where it gets hosted. And the Moab Fire Department, they've wanted to do it every year and be the host for it, and they haven't been able to because there's not a location for it. And we've tried putting our heads together on how to do it, but what it comes down to is there's not a spot to be able to host a banquet large enough to hold all those firefighters.
And then would they be doing that more like in a winter season too, to where?
Yeah, I want to say it happens into January, beginning of February.
Is that the one they went to St. George?
Yep.
For the season?
Yeah.
And it was January 21st to the 23rd.
Yeah, they just went to it.
Wow. So I see your point as far as tourism goes, but I'm also looking at it from a perspective of, if we're doing it from a county perspective of what's going to be long-term good for all of us, I definitely need to invest in our facilities. But I agree, if we can use the TRT dollars right on.
It's just a bigger budget. It's just a bigger budget. So it'd be, wherever it's appropriate and able possible to tap into that for some of these things that are tourism promotion, right? And they are important to our economy, right? They are economic development and they are tourism promotion. The idea that those two things are separate is a weird thing that we live in Grand County, where, in any other world, we would understand that those two things are just like this, right? But yeah, I would just love to explore that a little bit more as a board.
Well, so if you did a feasibility study, the question you'd be asking is, how often is this place gonna be empty? Like, how flexible can we make it so that it's not empty, that it covers its cost? And building a building like some of these places that other counties have, it's a $20 million project, not $2. I mean, so we don't have 20 million in TRT anyway. But so you'd have to get, I don't know where is that. I'm sure there are some state grants that do this kind of infrastructure.
And that's why if we look at it from a study aspect of it, and we build it up and we put in maybe some RV parking spots, maybe we could go after some of the agricultural grants.
there's a bunch, there's a lot of. I think what you gotta do is define the project, and then if you have to morph it to make the
Right,
grant.
right.
That'd be one thing, but, yeah, and I guess the other, I mean, I think people issue bonds to be able to pay for these kind of buildings, so that would be a whole nother hoop to jump through. But I think the real question is, we don't want it to be as empty, right? So if we thought about, okay, pretend, I mean, I'm really trying to, I'm struggling a little bit with like basketball and volleyball inside the same building that is hosting conventions, like, I'm not sure. how
You
that
gotta go to
works.
the
But at
school
least-
gallery
Yeah,
and see it all.
Okay, if they've got it, that, if there's an example.
It's
we
amazing
should-
what they could do.
We should look at it, it'd be a heck of a lot easier than protecting the dirt, which is
Yeah.
what you have to do now, so, yeah, I mean, it would be like. Assume the facility, and this is how you make a lot of controlled decisions, assume you could do it, like, pretend you have the building. And then figure out how you would, who would book it, and would we have a chance of filling it, or what would the return on investment be? And how long would it take to pay off that bond, and
Wouldn't that
Who are
be the
these people?
feasibility studies?
Yeah.
Right.
Plan, or like,
you'd have to hire someone.
right?
Yeah.
But that would be the goal of the feasibility study, right? As far as what I know of feasibility.
Yeah,
And then also utilizing what you have already and leveraging it. Is that what?
correct. And the thing is too, is when we're looking at these studies and you're doing them, you don't wanna, it's not necessarily what's gonna be coming into the facility, it's what's gonna be coming into the community. Cause it's not gonna be just what's coming into OSTA physically, it's gonna be what's gonna be filling like the beds and the restaurants and shopping at the shops and at the gas stations and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Anybody else? Cause we haven't heard from a couple of you. Do you have anything?
No, I'm just absorbing.
Go ahead.
So I guess we're coming up on, the season of grant choosing. I would wonder if we could like start having timelines where it's like, we look at this, we look at different things. I could see like the golf courses study was like $80,000, and I'm like, okay, we got 150 left. And so it's like, should we be like, okay, we got your kind of idea, like next step, like, yeah, get a number for us. Now do we like be like, all right, what other, start calling so we can kind of like have an option set.
We don't have 150 left, because the commission voted in their budget to put that RCG money into economic development, as far as like Melissa doing reports on getting like leakage reports, sales tax leakage reports and things like that. And so
So that's all
it's
done.
like a reinvesting year, reinvesting year as far as I mean, which the airport thing fell into that, reinvesting into the community versus like putting it out to individual companies.
How
I think
does,
really we have the RCOG.
how does that work? I thought like the state statute said we had to review it before it got spent. Is that not? So, cause I was like, that's 150, and then like, okay, so that 150's gone, right? Like no more.
Well, we're still supposed to advise on it. We definitely have a statutory, not
All
just
right.
possibility, but obligation to advise on how the money is spent. And so
Oh,
that's
good.
what I
It sounds
think.
like it's already been spent.
Well, it's kind of a weird situation this year. I mean,
Okay.
no,
Okay.
I mean, because it has been, I mean, in theory, we advise and then the county makes a
Yeah, yeah.
decision, right?
I'm just like,
No, I mean,
oh,
I think it's.
okay,
it's
So
definitely
like,
not
but
fair.
like going back to last meeting,
But,
last
yeah.
meeting, we had $40,000, was it 40,000, help me, 50?
50.
Up to 50, that's what it was, up to 50,000 that was gonna go for the EAS contract, if I'm not mistaken. So, but I definitely don't wanna like toss in the towel, like I think that we definitely like to hear and maybe, and I agree, we need to advise and at least offer solutions and help and maybe look at these different projects or different departments.
Do we have any money left to even fund a study for this?
RCOG, we have RCOG, yeah.
And that's a competitive
Correct.
yes on this. Okay.
Are we, Melissa, are we still awaiting from you a budget for what the 150 goes to? That we would then recommend to the commission or something like that?
Yes and no. So we went through the economic development plan last meeting to get high level feedback about how do we feel about these types of projects. And we got feedback about that. So now for each project that aligns with that, it kind of depends on what happens in what order. So for example, the airport is a part of that, an expanding EAS service. So in consultation with GOEO, we got the feedback that that would be a good use of those funds, brought up before the board, and then the board voted on that moving forward. So yes-ish on a budget, but the way that I imagine it happening, just because there are 6 or 7 different irons in the fire right now, that is each one becomes ready or viable and we understand what the number is, the next priority then would come before the board and we could talk about what that next one would be. So just looking ahead, the next one is probably going to be, we finally have an amount from EDC Utah and a rough list of what it is that they'd be able to do for us and getting back to us with a proposal. We still need to finalize that and I still don't know what that number is with that final list of things that we would want to see from them. But when we have that, I would bring it back in front of the board and present that proposal. Here's what they're planning to do for us and then have a vote on that item. But that's why it was so important to me to present the economic development plan, is to kind of say, these are all the things that we're working on. So everything that's in the fire, and there are a lot of them, from looking at an RFP to develop out housing for aging services and trust funds for workforce affordability when it comes to housing or childcare, right? All of those things are on the docket and all of those things are focuses, but we don't yet have something solidified to be able to say, hey, we have a project that we would like to spend it on and it would be this amount.
I mean, I think we'll all live with whatever is needed. This is not an ideal process, you know, that just realistically, like the order of operations, the way that things are unfolding, it puts this board in a position where we don't have good decision making. We just like, we have to advise however we have to advise, right? That's our job and I'm happy to do it still. We can do a better job advising when we have multiple options to consider, you know, and we're not really setting ourselves up as a board for that type of decision making.
What would you suggest, Chris?
Well, in the future,
Yeah.
I mean, in the future, we would have multiple projects that we're considering, or we would have us, even if it's under the economic development department, we would have a discussion with the department, with Melissa or whomever's in that position, on the potential uses of funding, and then we would offer some advice about which, you know, we think this is the highest priority items, or these are the highest priority items. You know, that's not how it's unfolding right now. It's and it's unfolding this way for a reason. I'm not trying to just say that this came out of nowhere. Like, there's budgetary issues, we have a revamped department that's brand new, like there are challenges and we're moving in this way because of those. So I get it. But I do think it's important that we have some clarity on, like, as a board, how we're moving forward, like what are we trying to do? How can we do our job to advise? You know, it's tough if somebody says on a one-off basis, like, I mean, it's like today, you know, is a conference center a good idea? Definitely, it's a good idea, you know, but would we feel comfortable, you know, putting all of the rest of our money towards it today, not having in front of us other options for what we could do with that money? I wouldn't make a decision that way. It's not a good way to make decisions, right? And so as a board, in an ideal world, right? How would we like to do it? We'd like to do it so that we have options put in front of us one way or another. And then we get to offer some advice on which, and then we just offer that advice to the commission. The commission makes final decision, of course, right?
I have a couple of questions and some feedbacks and thoughts, because I think this is a great conversation, because I agree with you. It feels like an awkward dance and it makes decision-making difficult. And I agree, it's not optimal or ideal. One of my questions would be, and I know this, I understand how it's working in other counties. They keep a portion and they just say that this is for economic development. If that's the case, then what we could do is we could say, we're going to budget $150,000 this year for county economic development. It will all fall in line with this economic development plan. A portion of that is used on staff compensation. My hope moving forward is that that wouldn't continue to be the case, but that's a commission decision, not a me decision. And that's a really clean way to approach it. And then you just say, we're not going to discuss the RCG stuff, and we don't have to do one-offs. We'll do it like other counties, and we'll say we're going to apportion this budget for economic development. And, you know, we've seen kind of the direction in the plan, and we agree or disagree, or here's our feedback and input on those initiatives. That's a way to do it. The other way to do it is I could come back with a budget, which wouldn't be incredibly helpful because some of the things may happen in the next 6 months. Some of the things may not happen for another 3 months. Something may come together over the next couple of weeks, like the EAS opportunity to be able to hire that consultant. And that's going to come up and be an urgent need today, still in the plan. And I'm just suggesting that's one way to do it, right, this year. As far as the RCOG goes, this is the piece of feedback. The challenge that I have with board feedback is I'm pretty consistent. I bring ideas that I think would be a good plan, a good use of funding. My voice isn't the only voice. So if there are other ideas, or if you would like to structure, or, you know, hey, we would really like to take this approach, or this is a project that we think would be a really great economic development project, that's really appropriate for this board to bring forward. So I guess maybe having the discussion about process and how things work would be the more beneficial conversation.
I think that's a good idea, because there is a spot on here that we could talk about. We can talk about what the RCG and the RCOG, and we can just say, okay, well, RCG is done. Let's talk RCOG, high level. Who do you want to hear from, Karen? Do you see what I mean? And then let's hear from Melissa's ideas, and you can tell us who maybe needs to be here to discuss with this.
It's not clear to me that
It's
RCG
not-
is done, like.
That's what I want to talk
last
about.
month, We just took a portion of it and we offered a recommendation on it. So there's no reason that it wouldn't happen again in the future, right?
It can, it's awkward. And I think that that's why it's so good to be able to have the conversation. Ideally, for me, and I'm just talking about in terms of the awkwardness of how you approach all the different conversations, right? Ideally, other counties say we're going to allocate this amount of budget to economic development. The board votes on that, and then it's finished with that part. But we haven't done that, so it's one-off.
Right.
And the way that the one-off has worked is, for example, we have the EAG discussion. Do we want to hire a consultant? Do we not want to hire a consultant? If the board had voted no, not to move forward with that, then you're still in a position where I still have to move forward. There still has to be budget. So then I'm making a recommendation. The board is making a different recommendation. The commission has a decision to make, and I don't know that that's the most functional, effective way for a board to work.
No, ideally.
And it's an observation,
Yeah,
not a
you're
criticism.
absolutely
It's an ask for help.
You're totally right. No, ideally, the way it would work is that if we were going to do it all internally, we would have had this conversation last fall about a strategy. The board would have offered some feedback on a strategy and then offered a recommendation to the commission to use the money there. And then it would just be your budget, right? I mean, that's the way that it would have been preferable if it could have worked that way. And I think if it's going to be used for funding the department going forward, it would be great if we did it that way, where we have a time. Because what happened, I mean, last meeting, we got presented with the strategy and we were able to have some conversation about it, absolutely. But it's not like we're having a conversation about it and then offering a recommendation to the commission about it. That's not the way the conversation was structured or the sort of strategy was put in place. So I think it'd be totally appropriate for us to like give you more license to go out and like not have to come back every single time, spend some money or something like that. I mean, that doesn't make a ton of sense. I agree.
And it also feels like, what is the conversation about the level of collaboration? Meaning we talked about the plan, there was feedback about the plan, not in a great deal of specificity. Or, you know, hey, are there other things that we want to, like, how is the best way for this board to operate? Because it is kind of in a transitional, do we want to focus on our COG? Would you like me to come back and ask for a vote that says, here's the budget that the department is requesting. We're gonna spend that budget against this plan in some order this year.
I think that would be beneficial. I think that would be beneficial. I mean, so the commission, you know, during budget season, it's not like they foresaw this to be like, oh yeah, you should bring this to the EOAB board, you know. But it happened, it got voted on at the commission level. But I think that if you wanna see, which I feel like there's information that Melissa can bring that information to you, and she will bring it but if you wanna see it in a broader scope, then that can be, and then you guys can, you know, you could, I mean, I don't wanna say you can vote on it because it doesn't necessarily.
The vote's already happened.
Yeah, it's already
before you
happened because it
guys.
already went to there.
Yeah.
I think Deborah might also be able to comment on this as far as like how it happens in other communities. And even when I first joined the board last year, you know, at the very beginning, it's really kind of up, it's a very interesting grant because it can be used in so many different ways. I mean, it's like interpreting muddy water, you know, it really is. And so,
Flexible.
yeah, it's super flexible, which is good. And the flexibility that the county needed it was for that department because we don't have funds. We want to fund that department. We want her to be able to do the studies and the things that they need. And the only way that we're gonna have funds for that this year is to do it with RC. It is backwards. I agree, 100%. And that's why I didn't come in the meeting, you know, at the first of the year and hide anything from you guys. I just said, this happened, the county, you know, it was a unanimous vote for the budget and that's the way it went. And not to keep you in the dark though. So she's gonna come to you and say, this is what that money's being spent on. And, you know, and I guess we can ask for a vote or not ask for a vote, but to keep you guys appraised of it.
Well, I do think that we need to vote on there's $150,000
Let's ask Deborah.
unallocated that we haven't advised
She's on
as a board. That's our duty. Like, that's our main.
Yeah, so a few things have come to mind. And so one, how it kind of works in other counties who don't spend all their funding on sub-grants and they have special projects is that I can see myself lagging. Sorry, I can't look at myself either, Erin. Is that the economic development director does come to the board and say, you know, these are the initiatives that I think are important this year. These are the projects that, you know, the county has as a priority. And, you know, what does the board think? Essentially, right? And then the board gives feedback and says, you know, this is what we like, this is what we don't like. And then eventually a vote is made. One other thing that I want to mention is that you guys are also discussing fiscal year 27, right? You've already decided everything for fiscal year 26. Okay, that was the sub-grants. So Melissa and the county submits an application. It opens in July for the next round of funds. And so technically the commission just needs to vote and decide, which some has already been done, right? Before Melissa submits the application. So some aspects have been decided. They do need to be a little bit clearly defined within the application. So like $50,000 for an airport study, $20,000 for EDC Utah, $50,000 for salary, you know, boom, 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 kind of like that. But, you know, this isn't happening until July. So I think you should also keep that in mind that you don't have these funds yet. You know, the application opens up in July. But yes, I hope that answered your questions. But in other counties, the economic development director or the county does kind of bring forward some projects. The board kind of discusses it and then advises the commission. Or the board brings forward their own projects, which you guys have all been chosen to be on this board because the county believes that you have the know-how about economic development to bring forth projects too. So does that help at all? Chris, does that help?
Wait, definitely.
Commissioner, does that help?
I guess what, and Deborah, the RCOG is also fiscal 2027. We would have to apply in July of this year. So that's one that we've got to put a little more gumption behind at the moment is what I'm hearing.
So
Okay.
the RCOG is a different timeline. And that's September-ish.
Okay.
September is when the RCOG opens.
Okay,
I mean, we'll need to get it to the commission before that.
Yeah.
So that then there's time after the commission's approved whichever project we want, there needs to be time to write the grant, basically.
and
Application.
before we were, oh, sorry, go ahead.
So that is one grant to one recipient, RCOG. And I kind of wonder about like our kind of institutional approach of Grant County. It's like, you know, she's asking for money. Do we be like, here's all our institutions asking for, like, does the county be like, we want 60,000 for the arena. We want 100,000 for CASU. We want, you know, this 100,000 to fill that up because that's a big grant of money. So we like, do we combine it in a larger study? I don't know. I'm just kind of trying to think of that, like, because do we want to just give one grant application for, let's say, $50,000 for her?
Our
It's kinda
RCOG,
like-
what you want to do is have one big project.
Right, and then I'm saying that, do we have a large county project with all our like the county wants to do this
I
stuff?
don't know, we can ask Deborah, but I've
That
never
would
heard
be
RCOG getting funded that was like an umbrella of multiple small projects. I think they're always one project.
Yeah, some people have tried and quickly got shut down. If you're really good at kind of saying that this is one major project that has several different components within it, we could try, but ultimately, no. It needs to be one cohesive project.
Like RCG can work that way really well.
Right.
But
I guess
Not really.
I'm trying to wrap my head around, like, so with our 150,000, would her project be like a sub grant too, or like, we're giving you the power to be like, yeah, she gets all of it?
No, so, and I'm really glad that you asked that, just so that we can clarify, which is why I think this conversation is really helpful, because maybe hopefully we can get the awkward dance down to like a, hey, here's what we really want to do. But the RCG is the one that we're talking about, that there's $200,000.
Yeah.
What we would like to propose as a county, or what I'm proposing from economic development staff, is 50,000 of that is used for compensation to have a person in the role, right? We voted $50,000 for an airline study. Those are all projects that are specifically related to economic development. And they all would roll up under the economic development plan that we're working against for the year, right? And then that's RCG. So that's it's over here. RCOG is that up to $600,000, really big swing, really big hit. This is our competitive project that we're putting forward that we think is going to make a significant impact on our economy, and we're getting behind one project. And for just refresher, because again, you know, we've been at this for a lot of weeks now. With a project like that, we had kind of talked about a few different things. So one of them is we want to make sure that it's a county project, meaning that the county's on the hook, the county signs the contract. So it should be something that the county is at least primarily responsible for, accountable, or whatever, which is a perfect example. That would be OSTA, right? Because that's a county department. Then one of those other filters is, how competitive do we believe that it will be? Do we feel like, how will it stand up on a state level? And do we think it's going to be really impactful for our economy? That would be another consideration. And one of the things that is a soft, because it's just my opinion, that I've brought up before, is I think it would be really nice that if we have a project and a big swing that we would really like to go out on a limb for, can we look at all the other different pieces that we can get funding from and double down and put it under the umbrella of what some of those RCG funds are going toward, or, you know, what we're focused on for other initiatives, maybe even in combination with the city on some of them. That's just a soft opinion. That's not something that I'm suggesting.
Yeah, so what I'm, like, I guess what I'm getting at, let's say she's asking for, let's say 100,000. And we're looking at RCOG, 100,000, EMS, 600,000. And I'm just like, the ask should be like, I want to say, like, I want to be like, yes, say yes, but your study's small. And so like, what can we do for you? Like when we're talking about like, don't we want to, you want to hit that big run? So.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, ideally, you want an RCOG that sits somewhere in the $500,000 range, right? If you want to, I mean, in order to maximize
Right.
what's coming into Grant County,
Yeah.
right? Which should be one of our goals, in my opinion, right? We want it to be really well used and we want it to come in as much money as possible. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's, like, you could put in a $100,000 request for RCOG and that, you know, you have a good chance of maybe getting it even, right? But then what are you missing out in terms of the opportunity cost? And especially the challenge there too becomes timeline, because is it gonna take a year or is it gonna take a year and a half, which would make us not eligible to follow?
And I think, just to follow on with what Chris said, the approach that I would like to take on the RCOG is to say, here's our grand plan. I think, and I would advocate for OSTA all day long. I also would advocate for EMS. There are also other projects that I think would probably be really valuable, but I'm gonna use this one because she's sitting here and I feel really passionately about the project. We would have a strategy and we would say, we want a convention center. And in order to have that convention center, we need a site plan of exactly how we would use the property that we have at OSTA currently. What property is available? What would it cost? How would we fill it? How do we monetize? How do we know that it's gonna create maximum impact for our community? And can we get architectural work done for that too? Can we get, and then you end up with a budget and a really competitive application that says for $600,000, we will have architecture, a site plan, a business plan, a budget, a feasibility study about how we're gonna fill it. And here's how we're gonna sell it. And then that's what we would own for $600,000. The really cool thing about a plan like that, because I hate who wants to invest in a plan, but the really cool thing is once you invest in a plan, now you can say, I'm going to apply for a CIB loan using my plan. I'm going to bond for a $30 million project using our plan. I'm gonna go to the USDA and get a facilities loan for a rural community with this plan. But that plan has value because without that plan, we can't submit a grant application. We can't go out to bond. We can't look at USDA's for a small community center loan, right? So ideally, that's how that project would work. And again, it could be a number of projects. There are a dozen things that we could do here that would have incredible economic impact, of which I believe that OSTA is one. And circling back to RCG, regardless of what we do, I would like to be able to use some of that budget on the RCG side to look at saying, can we replace the sound system, get an upgrade in the whatever, and do the things that we need to do in order to make
Just
that place
short
competitive,
term. Yeah.
right? Not the vision or the dream, but at least an economic contributing package potentially.
But maybe it's a better, I mean, I leave it to someone else to make final decision on this for sure, but maybe it's a better use of funding, of RCG funding to do that initial study. If it's a $50,000 to $60,000, $70,000 study, because then, I mean, like, yeah, like the sound system's awesome, but like talking about like leveraging, you know what I mean? It's like that first step that you need to be able to then go out for those big, it's like, to be honest, I don't know that, you know, $60,000 for a study plus another $300,000 of stuff makes a competitive RCOG. It's almost like you should get that study done first. Then you go out and you ask for the 500,000 from you and the 3 million from you. And
Well, you want the TRT funds for the study.
well, for sure, for sure. But in the absence of that, in the
Okay, well, let's
absence
talk
of
about
that, the
TRT.
CG might
I'm
make sense.
gonna explain to you guys TRT. So TRT has two pieces. It has 3A, we hear these numbers all the time. 3A is for the purpose of establishing and promoting tourism, recreation, film and productions, or conventions. So for the purpose of establishing and promoting. Then you have mitigation money, which is 3B, which is to pay for tourism or recreation related facilities in the county, which is leasing, constructing, furnishing, maintaining, and operating convention meetings, exhibit halls, visitor information centers, museums, sports and recreation, arenas and trails. So those are the pieces that we have. So, but in this county, there is no mitigation money left. So we get about $8 million a year in TRT revenue.
Can I just clarify?
40
I'm sorry. 3B is mitigation.
3B is mitigation. Okay, so when you look at, we have 44% for promotion, so 44% of the $8 million we get gets to go to the 3A pocket. So some of that can be for the establishing and promoting conventions. So everybody, hey, come in tomorrow because we're gonna have a convention. It doesn't mean it pays for the convention center. So mitigation pays for the convention center. We have no mitigation money left. So then when we look at the 63%, which is mitigation, so sorry, 56. So this is the new law, it's 20, yeah, the new law. 44% is promotion, 56% is mitigation. So a little bit over half of that $8 million, so $4.5 million we'll just use is used for mitigation. Now mitigation is also, that 3B is the pocket, but then there's also, as you go down, there's other things that fall in that 3D money.
No, it's
Like solid, like 3D, yeah, so solid waste, emergency medical, search and rescue, law
So you're just saying
enforcement.
that mitigation funding is B, C, and D?
Mhm.
Doesn't sound like mitigation.
And then
but it might
A
be
is
great.
the establishing and promoting those things.
It's the way they.
So establishing and promoting money, so when you go back to this, yeah, when you go to this, it says 44% for promotion. So the promotion is 3A only.
I-
3A only.
I have a question for you on the
Yeah.
TRCCA.
We can get to that in a second. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so in our TR, so that $4.5 million that we have right now is paying for basically all of law enforcement. I mean, not all of it. Our sheriff's budget, sheriff and search and rescue budget is bigger than $4.5 million. So if we just easily put it all over there, now we could split it all up and say, no, $2 million we're giving to search and rescue and sheriffs, and $2 million, we're giving this much money to each of these other entities. It's all coming out of our general fund anyways, but there's no leftover money in mitigation. If we were to leave over mitigation money, then we would increase property taxes. So to have leftover mitigation money would be to take stuff that's getting paid for out of mitigation and transfer that to our general fund and increase property taxes. So if we want to use mitigation money, then we have to increase property taxes. That's really the bottom road. Then TRCCA is another piece of
To
the
pay for the things that we're currently using mitigation money to
Mhm.
pay for.
Yeah, so that we can use new mitigation money for,
New things,
New
but right
things,
now, we're
right.
using all our mitigation money for things that we don't wanna raise
Yes.
taxes for, like.
yeah, so there's so many great things we could use mitigation money for, but we just don't have enough mitigation money. There's not enough mitigation money to pay
Because
for all the
we
things.
decided to use it for infrastructure, or for, not, that's not
For
right,
the
to use
sheriff's
it for, what did we use?
For law.
Yeah, some EMS, solid waste.
Right,
But we
Okay.
can split it up, honestly, I mean, I hate that it all just goes to, like, I don't like it, I think I've talked about this, I don't know, maybe with this board. But I wish we could just say X amount goes to solid waste, X amount goes to search and rescue, X amount goes to law enforcement, X amount goes to the road. And then that totals up to 4.5, and then everything left over is going instead of, but we just kind of do it the opposite way where it's like, here's all the chunk that's going to law enforcement, and then the leftover is solid waste and, search and rescue and road repairs and all of those items, but all of those are
for
ultimately
doing
getting
it the
paid.
way that you're doing it is that we are trying to shelter locals or protect locals from paying from tourism impacts. And so the reason we need so much law enforcement, the reason we need so much search and rescue is because of the visitors. So as visitors grow, to avoid growing the burden on residents, we're using the mitigation money from TRT, and that way the tourism people, the tourists are actually paying for their increased impacts. So that's the argument for doing it that way. And what that means though, is that there's not money left over to, if we could get ahead of it for a hot second, there might be, but we're not. And like you're saying, a limited amount to each of those things, but then you would still be transferring the remaining burden. The problem is it's really hard to say this much of the sheriff's time is spent dealing with locals and this much is spent.
And we're currently doing that right now because with the new TRT law, there is that grant program in there. And in that grant, they want us to separate all those things. So right now, EMS is separating locals and tourists.
Yeah.
So is search and rescue. So that honestly, hopefully, by the time I reach my first term of being a commissioner, we can split down and say, yeah, tourism is costing us this much money, state. So we need more money, state.
Could be that. Yeah, that would be good.
But that would be good, and then hopefully we would have leftover money because we're putting more money in it from our general fund into supporting tourism. But tourism also brings back money to all of us in our community and all the things that we do. Whether retail or we're coffee or, you know, whatever it is that we do, that tourism is bringing it back in a different way, not through just through sales tax.
Walk through sales, wait, for general.
But
Yeah, but
here's,
it's independently affecting us all. Like you benefit probably in your conservation because tourists come in, they support you. So the tourism is not only just supporting the county taxes, that things that, but it's supporting each one of us individually, you know, as well. So those are the things, but that's why we don't have money. Yes, it can be paid for by TRT, but we don't have extra TRT. And then the TRCCA is also a tourism, it's on restaurants. It's a restaurant tax basically. And that money can be used for the same things, but it basically, all the same things that mitigation money can be used for, TRCCA can be used for. Some of that does pay for operations of the arena. But there's just only $200,000.
so it's not very much.
$200,000.
That's what I was wondering.
So 70,000 is going to the arena for maintenance and operations, and the other 130,000 is going into law enforcement, you know, because that's where we have the biggest expense. But if we ever could either get the state to give us more money for mitigation, you know, because raising property taxes as a commissioner isn't what I want to do to build. Yes, I want OSTA and a convention center, absolutely. But I don't think raising property taxes so that we can take money that we're giving to the sheriffs, put it in our general fund, and then build a convention center is what is the best choice.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And to add a layer of complexity, I'm really glad that you said that, and I want to put a pin in it and add this. Because in order to really collaborate with the board and to be able to share some of that and say, how do we jump in and fix all of this together? It's that understanding of the complexity of the issues and the challenges that you don't understand until you're in the middle of it and you start diving down into the detail. So everything that Commissioner McCandless just said is true about where the funds are going, sheriff's department, search and rescue, police department, solid waste, all of those things that are outsized expenses based on tourism. What I also see is there are the soft costs that aren't showing up. So the perfect example is that in a community of 10,000 people, you would not have the size of a planning and zoning department that we have to have in this community. You have to have that additional headcount because of the stuff that they're doing that makes you the size of a metropolitan community, right? They're not doing for a community or a county of 10,000 people. They're doing planning and zoning for what would be a large municipality comparable to, in my research, a Taylorsville or a Murray, right? We're bearing that expense and that's not getting covered by any mitigation expense or any. So as we start looking at this new grant, we have to be able to look and see what are the costs of this that are coming out of the general fund that can't be replaced by mitigation dollars, which is why that economic diversification and getting in other monies coming into the general fund is so important, because people forget that tourism money, TRT money, is restricted. You can't use it to offset.
And I think that's why I wanted to bring that up, because we can all sit here and be like, I wish I do it all the time. I say, I wish that TRT money could pay for this. We have $4 million we're using for advertising. Can we spend it on something else, you know? And it's not quite 4 million, it's like 3. But still, that's a lot of money. And I do sit there and say that. So I just want it so that we don't have to sit here and be like, man, I really wish we could use this money. So that way it clears that idea from our head and we have to find solutions going forward to get the things that we want. And, and Melissa's doing a ton of work on finding different grants and different money, and monies that are out there. And one of those monies that we have to build things in our community is the RCG and the RCOG funds, and it doesn't seem like very much, especially when we have that $3.5 million pot of money, but we have to just forget about that 3.5, at least right now. And the state's not doing anything different this year. There's nothing going on with TRT and legislation that's changing anything to go. So we've got another year at least to not, that money will go to promotion, which hopefully promoting will bring people to the community. Our tax revenue will go up. All of our revenue will go up. So, really great things could happen with that money. It's just not money that we can use for this time of year.
So could we maybe direct you, Melissa, on giving us some actual thought process behind our COG of where you think the county is moving forward, getting us like maybe the 3 options or something, so everybody kind of has a thought process behind that. We can discuss that and then try to move more towards a direction? I mean, what do you think about those kinds of ideas, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to run an RCOG process this year. I mean, I think that if, any projects that Melissa can bring for us is awesome. But I think also part of the thought process of getting folks like Angie in the room is so that they're aware that, we have this opportunity as a county to apply for up to $600,000 in funding for economic development. And if as a department or an entity affiliated with the county, like a special service district, you have thoughts about how a project that would fit within those specifications, and we'd be happy to have conversations with you about it. We want to hear about them so that we can then make the best decision about how to, we get one swing, right, each year or each 2 years, depending on how it works out for us.
If we're looking at, so we have till September, but we need to look at timeline wise, we gotta probably make that choice in the August meeting of what we think we need to move forward to the commission.
July, ideally.
July. So if we look at that, we have basically March, April, May, June. So we have next meeting, maybe Melissa brings her thoughts, right? And then we can hear from a couple more of those people. And then we got to make a choice in that June meeting to forward to, is that right? Am I being on the right page there?
Something like that. I mean.
And then, so maybe we break this out where we hear it from Melissa on the RCG and the RCOG, breaking it out for us on what the plan, is that something you would be okay, or what do you think?
Well, I also think, what about you guys? I mean, just like Angie's probably getting a lot of information here, okay, now I know what to come back. No, she's here independently. So I think that maybe reaching out, we should invite EMS and Steve Gleason from the airport and Angie to come back so she can learn more. And whatever other RCOG ideas that you all have, if you have something bigger and grander out there, let's bring them all into our next, let's bring them back into our next meeting and just chat with them all about what is the RCOG, kind of how we talked about doing a informational workshop. So that basically what it would be, we would be bringing them all in and letting them know, this is kind of what the plan, we want to look for the the best use of this funding. And so when you come back with a project to us, so today's not the project day, but this is, if you are interested in coming back to submit for this project, then we're going to invite you back to come back. But then they can ask the questions, you can ask them questions. And then we go from there.
And then they recognize that it's a competitive process of Angie, you want to bring your best foot forward and see who does it. I mean, so
good for people, even if they don't apply this year.
I think it's
Project
great.
is ready for this year. Maybe you can do the feasibility study this year, but then next year you want to come and have us try to get you $600,000. We'd love to, we'd love you. We want you to know about it so that you can help us pick the best projects, help us find the best projects in the county.
You just need a $600,000 study.
Or
Yeah. The other thing I didn't even touch on is, the county fair is growing and developing and it's getting bigger each year. And the thing that we're running into is we don't have any space to show livestock. Especially the smaller livestock. So part of the convention center would be to have that built onto it, to have a spot for the smaller livestock. And we run into that also with the last fire. We ran into that with having a spot to house the smaller livestock. We were out there until the wee hours of the night, zip tying chicken wire to the horse stalls. Because you have to think about that. You've taken these people's animals as they're being evacuated from their homes, and they're bringing them to you to protect them and take care of them, and you have to make sure that they're safe. So yeah, I was zip tying construction fencing to the stalls, so that way raccoons and other crows, the hawks wouldn't get to these people's chickens. It's harder than you think, especially when you're trying to hurry and you have a frantic woman on the phone trying to save 20 chickens from a fire. And that was just one animal. I mean, we got chickens, we had pigs coming in, rabbits, all these smaller animals, and they can't just go into a horse stall. And same with goats and sheep, they get out. So having those smaller pens available And the kids and the youth, they want to show these animals. And there's different conditions that need to be available as far as dams, electricity, wash stalls, the demands coming in, and we're trying to mitigate it and figure it out. But it's difficult. It's especially difficult during an emergency. So just putting it out there.
And the other thing that you guys all might learn is that everybody just needs a $100,000 study, and that might be the best use of your money this year, so that next year, because we don't have to, it doesn't have to be a 2-year project. It could just be 1-year project. And so pick the one that's the most important and do the study for them. And then that way, the next year they can come back with the $600,000 project. So that might be something that we can all say, yeah, we want to use the best amount of our money, but maybe nobody can go to that next level without this first level. You know, so we could just use it for a smaller amount of money and then move forward the following year. So it'd be 1-year completion, and then bam, the $600,000 for a 2-year completion.
But it's like
project.
6-month completion, really, right? Because funding won't come through until the beginning of the year, and then we need to be ready to go on a next project by, well, September, right? So anyway, it's a little less, if to do it in the 1-year timeline.
Yeah, but a feasibility study, they can.
It's possible, exactly, but I just think
Especially if they were
it's
preparing.
important to be communicating that to the folks right along, is that if we're going to do something smaller than like this $600,000 ask, then the timeline for completion is gonna be pretty tight, somewhere around 9 months, in order for the county to be eligible again. Or, you know.
Okay, so. I feel like that was pretty good discussion, yeah? Let me think, what am I missing? Chris, did I miss anything? Oh.
We need, because I'm not
Let's hear
saying
it.
that we would do it, a vote on the 2026 meeting schedule. And I know the board had discussed at the last meeting, suspending a November meeting and a December meeting. But there wasn't a vote on that.
Oh, we never vote? Okay.
Oh, I thought we did vote on it, because I thought we had the meeting, that we didn't suspend both of them. We moved the November meeting to like the 18th, which was prior to the Thanksgiving, and then we canceled the December altogether, right? I swear we took a vote on
Yeah, we
that.
didn't get a vote recorded. Maybe it did.
Oh,
Well, let's just.
Maybe.
well, let's do a vote then, huh? Does anybody, do we have to make a motion and do all the normal stuff again?
Yeah, so what was that again? We moved the November.
I thought we moved the November meeting to the Wednesday before, or sorry, well, I guess 2 Wednesdays before Thanksgiving. Is that the 18th, you guys? Let me go look. It's where it was the 18th.
Yeah, the 18th.
Yeah. So I thought we moved that one, or the November meeting to the 18th, and the December we canceled altogether. Yeah, I swear we did it. I guess we didn't. Okay. So does anybody want to make a motion?
Sure. I move that the 2026 EOAB meeting schedule is for meetings from January through October, the final Wednesday of the month, 3 to 5 p.m. And for November, it's moved to November 18th, 3 to 5 p.m. And there will be no meeting held in December unless a special meeting is called.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion by Chris, a second by Pam. Any discussion? Let's call for a vote. Okay, it's a past unit.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I agree.
So that was one housekeeping thing. Was there anything else that I missed?
My only housekeeping thing other than that is if you haven't gotten your OPMA yet, get that into me. I've gotten them now from a lot of you. Yeah, just send it in.
So how many of us could meet? With only 3, less than 3? What's the rule again?
To make quorum.
No, if we met separately, how many, what's the rules on? How many?
Quorum, so 3, so we have 7 on the boards.
So, yeah.
So 3 can meet. 4 can't.
Oh, 3 can meet.
4 can.
Got it.
Thank you.
Got it.
Thanks, Angie.
You bet.
Thank you. I know I did my certificate and everything, but I forgot.
Okay. So can I close? I'm learning here, Chris, but do I just close?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, do we have anything else?
Future consider.
All right, oh yeah, future considerations. I thought we got a lot of them in there. Okay. We adjourn.
Thank you.